And this is why so many of our black movements have been diverted. So many of our black leaders, our black organizations, our black revolutions have in some kind of way always been manipulated by the enemy. In some of the research that has been published by the NOI Research Department, you'll find that throughout the civil rights struggle in particular, many of these black or so-called black organizations that were actually founded by whites and Jews, NAACP and others, in these organizations, it was founded initially based on a philosophy called non-economic liberalism. That's right. Economic pursuit. Now, you can recall in high school, perhaps even in college, hearing about this terminology, have you? Yes, sir. Non-economic liberalism. What is that? It is a philosophy that whites and Jews enacted when they helped founded these black organizations that ensured that blacks were to be limited in fighting for civil rights, fighting for laws, being limited to Negro issues, if you will. But blacks were to never focus their movements, their organizations on financial independence from white folks. So the white folks would be the ones who maintain and control the money, while you stay out there, you march, you fight for these rights and things like this. So if the revolution is to really take place, if there is to truly be an overturn of power of the current authorities, we have to, one, identify those current authorities, and we have to make sure that they are not continuously manipulating and influencing our movements that's supposed to overthrow them. Does that make sense? So even though in the last few years we've seen the movements take place, black people awakening, and now we see this mantra, powerful mantra, Black Lives Matter, kind of like Black Power, isn't it? Yes, sir. And look how positive that is. Black Lives Matter. Who would have a problem with that unless you the devil? So you saying black people, our lives don't matter? You see? So anybody that would have a problem with that is diametrically opposed to black freedom, really. However, you'll notice that this movement is now, in some cases, being reduced to a hashtag. Our movement and aspects of the revolution are being demoted into a fad. And then powerful whites with their money. Now we find, and you heard Minister Farrakhan mention this a few weeks ago, how people like Jewish billionaire George Soros, billionaire, is funding the Black Lives Matter movement. Now we see where the movement gets diverted. And people get money, they start acting crazy. And then you had people like our warrior brother up in the St. Louis area, Brother Darren Seals. See, early on, he caught a wind of this. He saw how this money and stuff was diverting the movement of the Black Lives Matter movement. So now it becomes a little bit less black lives and it starts to promote other stuff. The gay agenda. This over here. So black men in homes and things like that, black families, that's a secondary thing now. So it were people like Brother Darren Seals that started exposing it. And they killed that brother. Burned him in a car, shot him and all of that. Because he was exposing what was taking place. Look, y'all, we have an enemy. And so the enemy factor has to be discussed if the revolution is to really take place. See, this is why you don't find the Nation of Islam as acting the same way as you find these protest movements doing. We'll go out there, we'll protest because it does have its place now. But that's not the thing. See, we are always proactive. There's a difference between a protest movement and actually building. That's the revolution right there. How you going to talk about a real revolution and bringing down the current authorities and you can't feed yourself? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Nation of Islam, he said, no, look, land is the basis of all economic freedom.